It was 1982, and I had finally been accepted into the art school of my dreams, only to learn I might have to drop out before it even began. My father lost his job, and my family had to go on welfare, and I had no idea how I was going to be able to continue. So as a last resort, I went to the school's guidance counselor, who asked me, well, didn't you apply for any financial aid? And I answered, yes, I had, but let me explain. I am a redheaded, freckle-faced, pale-skinned Puerto Rican who grew up in an Italian-Irish neighborhood. I am the red sheep of my Latino family. I was the fish out of agua in my neighborhood. I was never Latin enough for most people in my family, and I was never white enough for most people in my neighborhood. And at this point in my life, I was just so over anything having to do with having to explain who or what I was. Where the application said put in your ethnicity, I wrote in redhead, and where it said race, I put human. And the counselor looked at me like, what is wrong with you, girl? And then she painstakingly explained that specifically because I was a Latina, I was qualified for all kinds of financial aid. What is wrong with you, girl? So I resubmitted the applications, and I got all the aid I needed to stay in school, along with an internship. A prestigious internship at a major advertising agency. Thank you. It was called the Minority Student Internship Program. Kids from colleges all across New York had applied. 12 were accepted, and I was one of them. Thanks. Only I nearly blew it that first day and was thrown out because of something called LPT. Does anyone here know what LPT is? It's what we call Latin people time. It's a misunderstanding of the space-time continuum that causes the afflicted to leave their house at the time they're supposed to be wherever they are going. And yeah, that happened to me. And besides being late, I learned that I also had a misunderstanding of what was considered proper office attire. My fellow internees were wearing Lacoste and Le Tigre polo shirts and little Benetton bow blouses, and I was wearing a violet tiger print t-shirt and black spandex pants and pointy-heeled shoes with long feather earrings, yes. And I know, what were you wearing in 1982? Come on. But then they served breakfast, and there were croissants. I'd never seen a croissant before. For the past few months, I had been living on hot dogs and that welfare cheese and that peanut butter in a can, and when I tasted one, I ate, and I ate, and I ate, and I ate, and I ate, until I took a breath, and I saw that all the brown and beige faces of the interns on this side, and all the older and paler faces of the leaders on that side were glaring at me. And I thought, this is it, Michele. You blew it. You are going to be thrown out of here, and you're going to have to, and you didn't get this internship because of merit. You got it because of fraud, and you're going to have to go right back to that top floor tenement, walk up and rot, because that's what you deserve. And then when I came to, everybody was leaving. And the interns left without saying goodbye to me, and as I tried to sneak out, the leaders of the group called me back and warned me to not be late again in the future. And by the way, where is my family from again? And the next week, I'm in my cubicle when I hear a commotion behind me. And then I realized that every intern had been assigned to a different agency, and every week we were going to visit a different intern to see what he or she was doing. And this first week, guess what? It was my turn. So all the interns and all the leaders file into my cubicle, and they catch me not doing agency work, but designing t-shirts that I was going to sell at the summer rock concerts in Central Park. And there's a moment of silence where everybody's like looking, and then the preppiest male intern of them all looks at the t-shirt that I'm designing and says, wow, you know King Crimson? And I said, know them? Well, we're making these t-shirts for them, which was kind of not really true. I mean, my boyfriend and I, yes, we were together making these t-shirts to sell at the concert, but King Crimson didn't know who we were. And then another silence. And then the questions start, a barrage of questions. Well, where do you get the t-shirts? And what kind of ink do you use? And what is your sales model? And I answered, I said, we get the t-shirts at this wholesaler on Orchard Street, and I get the silkscreen ink from Pearl Paint. I didn't tell them that the sales model was basically my boyfriend and I sneaking into the concerts and waving the t-shirts around. Buy one, buy one, buy one. But amazingly, I became the model project for the group. And every week after that, they would ask me how my t-shirt business was going. And one week, one of the girls who had given me the worst side eye of all, the day I ate all the croissants, she came up to me and she confessed that at that breakfast, she too wanted to eat all the croissants. Because she had never seen one before and her family was on welfare too. I certainly learned a lot that summer at that internship. I learned what was and what wasn't proper office attire. I learned how not to make a glutton of myself at a catered luncheon. And I also learned that I had a pretty darn good design eye, and the agency offered me a job after graduation. Only, thank you. On our last meeting, which was going to be a big catered farewell lunch, I was stricken with LPT again, and I was 15 minutes late, and I was trembling as my hand was on that doorknob. Were they gonna throw me out? Was I gonna lose my job? Was everybody gonna like yell at me? And then when I opened the door, I saw 11 smiling faces waving me in. They were about to take a group picture, and they had told the photographer to hold it, to wait for me until I got there, because the summer would not have been the same without me. To occasionally suffering from a relapse of LPT, but I've learned to joke about it. And I'd like to say that when my time comes, on my tombstone is going to be engraved, there lies Michele Carlo. She needed another 15 minutes. Thank you, everybody.